You've been told these foods are healthy, but once they hit your fridge, they quietly become toxic, especially if you're over 60. Did you know that your refrigerator, the place you trust to keep food safe, could actually be one of the most dangerous appliances in your kitchen? It might sound strange, but it's true. According to the USDA, over 2 million cases of foodborne illness every year are tied to poor refrigeration habits. But here's what most people don't realize. Seniors over 60 are up to 4 times more likely to suffer serious complications from improperly stored or temperature-sensitive foods. And it's not just spoiled food that's the problem. As we age, our immune systems slow down. Our digestion becomes more sensitive. Foods we used to eat without thinking can suddenly cause bloating, inflammation, spikes in blood sugar, and even long-term mobility or memory issues. What's worse is that some of the foods sitting in your fridge right now, foods marketed as healthy, could be quietly making you feel sluggish, weaker, or less steady on your feet. We dug deep into peer-reviewed research, food safety alerts, and geriatric nutrition journals to uncover the 9 common foods that should never be in a senior's fridge. We'll count them down from #9 to #1. And trust me, the #1 item is one of the most popular health foods on the market. Yet it's been linked to muscle weakness and even short-term memory decline. And we want to hear from you. Before we jump in, drop a comment and tell us, what's one thing in your fridge right now that you're unsure about? We read every comment and your story could help others. Let's begin with food number 9. Many people, especially seniors, store bread in the fridge to make it last longer. But what if I told you that doing this actually makes it go stale faster and become harder to digest? When bread is stored in the refrigerator, it undergoes a process called retrogradation. This means the starch molecules crystallize in the cold, making the bread dry, tough, and more difficult for your body to break down. Now, meet Carl, 73. He had been dealing with bloating and sluggish digestion for months. He thought it was just part of aging. But after watching a nutrition video, he decided to stop storing his wheat bread in the fridge. Within just 1 week, he noticed less stomach discomfort, more energy after lunch, and even fewer blood sugar spikes. A study from the Journal of Cereal Science confirms that chilled bread can slow digestion, lowering the glycemic index by up to 25%. While that might sound good, slower digestion isn't always better, especially if you already have issues like constipation, gas, or IBS. Instead, store bread in a dark, dry pantry, tightly sealed. If you need to store it longer, freeze it in slices and toast it straight from the freezer, but never keep it in the fridge. You're better off without the digestive drama. Tomatoes are often praised for their heart-healthy lycopene and vitamin C content, but putting them in the fridge? Big mistake, especially if you're over 60. Chilling tomatoes at temperatures below 50 degrees Fahrenheit, 10 degrees Celsius, damages the natural enzymes that give them their taste and nutrition. The cold disrupts their volatile compounds, making them taste bland, even watery. But the damage goes beyond flavor. Take Gloria, 66. She loved slicing tomatoes onto her sandwiches, but she always stored them in the fridge. Over time, she began experiencing acid reflux, mouth ulcers, and increased joint stiffness. After switching to countertop storage, not only did her tomatoes taste better, but her symptoms noticeably improved. According to a University of Florida study, refrigerating tomatoes reduces their antioxidant levels, and another study published in Post-Harvest Biology and Technology found that reheated chilled tomatoes lose over 30% of their vitamin C. For seniors, who often already struggle with reduced stomach acid and sensitive digestion, this matters. Cold tomatoes break down and ferment more quickly in the gut, which can exacerbate gas, bloating, and inflammation. So here's the fix. Keep your tomatoes on the counter in a bowl or basket. Let them ripen naturally and enjoy them at room temperature. Next up, potatoes, a beloved staple. But when you toss them into the fridge, they can turn into a serious health hazard. Here's why. Cold temperatures trigger cold-induced sweetening, converting the potato's starch into sugar. That sugar, when cooked, especially baked or fried, creates a chemical called acrylamide, which has been linked to nerve damage and even certain cancers. The FDA specifically warns against refrigerating raw potatoes, especially for older adults. Why? Because our detoxification pathways slow down with age, meaning acrylamide exposure can accumulate and affect the nervous system. Let's talk about Henry, 70. He loved his baked potatoes but couldn't figure out why his blood sugar levels were always high. Turns out, he was storing his potatoes in the fridge. After switching to a cool, dark pantry, his post-meal glucose levels stabilized, and his doctor even reduced his diabetes medication. A study in food and chemical toxicology found that refrigerated potatoes produce 3 times more acrylamide when cooked than those stored properly. So, remember, never refrigerate raw potatoes. Store them in a brown paper bag or breathable bin in a cool pantry away from sunlight. You'll preserve both their taste and your health. Here's a shocker. Bananas don't belong in the fridge, especially for older adults. Refrigerating bananas disrupts their enzymes, causing the skin to turn black, while the inside becomes overly sweet, mushy, and harder to digest. What's worse is that refrigeration destroys vitamin C and polyphenols, 2 nutrients critical for immune health, skin elasticity, and wound healing. Alice, 68, had been refrigerating her bananas to prevent them from going brown, but she started experiencing headaches, fatigue, and blood sugar crashes after eating one with her breakfast. A dietitian told her the issue was the loss of resistant starch in refrigerated bananas, a type of starch that slows sugar absorption. Within days of switching to room temp bananas, her energy and mood both improved. A 2017 study in the Journal of Food Quality backed this up, showing that bananas lose up to 40% of their antioxidant content when stored in cold temperatures. So how should you store bananas? Hang them at room temperature, away from other fruits if possible. If they ripen too fast, peel and freeze them for smoothies, but never refrigerate them whole. Soy sauce is a flavor bomb, but for seniors, it's a blood pressure bomb too. Just 1 tablespoon contains nearly 1,000 milligrams of sodium, almost half of your recommended daily intake. And when you store soy sauce in the fridge, you make it more convenient to use, which means you're more likely to overdo it. Mark, 74, had chronically swollen ankles and borderline high blood pressure. He didn't use table salt, but he marinated everything in soy sauce straight from the fridge. After cutting back and switching to low-sodium coconut aminos, his blood pressure dropped 15 points in 30 days. The American Heart Association found that reducing sodium intake by even 25% lowered the risk of hypertension in adults over 60 by 30%. The fridge makes sauces like teriyaki, barbecue, and even salad dressings more accessible, but not healthier. For seniors dealing with fluid retention, kidney issues, or high blood pressure, it's better to store these sauces in a cabinet and use them sparingly. Pro tip: dilute sauces with vinegar, lemon juice, or low-sodium broth for flavor without the salt. Many seniors reach for fruit-flavored yogurt as a healthy breakfast or snack, but those colorful cups hide a sugary secret. Most flavored yogurts contain 14-20 grams of sugar per serving. That's more than some donuts. And here's where refrigeration works against you. The sugars and stabilizers in yogurt ferment faster when chilled, which can worsen gut inflammation and even cause gas, constipation, or sugar cravings. Carol, 72, had yogurt every morning, thinking she was helping her digestion. But she felt more bloated than ever. A checkup revealed her favorite peach yogurt had 19 g of added sugar and artificial sweeteners. Once she switched to plain Greek yogurt and added fresh berries, her symptoms vanished. A review in Nutrition Reviews confirmed that high-sugar dairy increases the risk of irregular digestion in older adults by up to 32%. If you're keeping yogurt in the fridge, make sure it's plain, unsweetened, and high in protein. Add your own fruit, honey, or cinnamon if needed, but skip the artificially flavored stuff. Welcome back to part 2 of our must-watch series for anyone over 60 who wants to protect their health, gut, brain, and mobility, starting with what's hiding in your fridge. In the last video, we revealed 6 common foods that can quietly drain your energy, spike your blood pressure, weaken your immune system, and worsen digestion, all just by being stored in the wrong place. But the final 3 foods on our list, they're even worse, not because they're rare or exotic, but because they've been marketed for decades as healthy staples, especially to seniors. They're in nearly every home, in nearly every fridge, and most people have no idea they could be triggering everything from nerve damage to joint pain to memory loss. Let's start with number 3. It's one of the most misleading foods in the entire supermarket. You've probably heard it before. Choose lean protein. And many seniors do by reaching for deli meats like turkey slices, ham, roast beef, or bologna. They're convenient, pre-sliced, low in fat, and often labeled as heart smart. But here's the part they don't advertise. Deli meats are one of the worst things older adults can regularly eat, especially when refrigerated and consumed daily. That's because these meats are heavily processed and often loaded with sodium nitrate, a known carcinogen, sodium phosphate, linked to kidney strain, potassium nitrate, which impacts nerve health, and massive amounts of salt, often hidden under different names. The problem isn't the meat itself, it's what's been done to it, and how often you're exposed to it when it's stored cold and ready to grab. Take Joe, 69. He switched from bacon to turkey slices, thinking he was making a healthier choice. But within months, he began waking up with numbness in his fingers, tight calves, and severe mental fog. He couldn't focus. His blood pressure was high. He was exhausted. His doctor ran blood work and found his sodium levels were through the roof, and his nerve function was starting to decline. The trigger? His fridge-stored turkey slices, which he was eating nearly every day. The labels made it seem healthy. But behind the scenes, preservatives and phosphates were slowly damaging his circulation and nervous system. A 2020 study published in the journal Stroke found that seniors who consumed processed meats 4 or more times per week had a 44% higher risk of stroke than those who rarely ate them. And here's what makes it worse. Storing these meats in the fridge makes them feel safe, convenient, easy, and quick. But that very convenience can lead to daily exposure to high sodium and chemical preservatives. What should you do instead? Cook a fresh chicken breast or turkey cutlet. Slice it thin yourself. Store it in a glass container in the fridge for up to 3 days. You get the same convenience without the chemicals, nitrates, or mystery additives. It's better for your blood vessels, your kidneys, and your long-term brain health. This next one might seem harmless, even helpful, especially if you're trying to eat more salads. You grab a bottle of light Italian, organic ranch, or balsamic vinaigrette from your fridge. You pour it over your greens. You feel good about making a healthy choice. But that bottled salad dressing? It might be undoing every single benefit of your salad. Most refrigerated dressings, even the ones that say organic or light, are filled with hydrogenated oils, trans fats, soybean oil linked to gut inflammation, added sugars, artificial colors, flavor enhancers, preservatives that disrupt hormone function. Meet Brenda, 66. She ate salads every night, hoping to lose a few pounds and lower her cholesterol. But her knees stayed stiff, her weight wouldn't budge, and she was having intense sugar cravings by bedtime. The problem? Her organic ranch dressing had 140 calories per 2 tablespoons, 12 grams of fat, added sugar, and 4 different synthetic emulsifiers, all of which were silently sabotaging her metabolism and raising her insulin response. When Brenda switched to a homemade mix of olive oil, lemon, garlic, and oregano, everything changed. She dropped 6 pounds in a month. Her knees stopped aching and her cravings disappeared. A 2022 study in Nutrients found that older adults who regularly consumed processed salad dressings had a 22% higher risk of inflammatory flare-ups, gut microbiome imbalance, and insulin resistance. So, what's the issue with refrigerating them? The fridge preserves the illusion of health. You see the bottle, you trust the branding, and you use it again and again without checking what's really inside. What's the better option? Make your own dressing. It takes 2 minutes and can drastically reduce inflammation, calorie load, and chemical exposure. Here's a simple recipe. 2 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil, 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar, a pinch of sea salt, crushed garlic, dried oregano or rosemary. Not only does it taste better, it supports your metabolism, your immune system, and your brain. And now, the #1 food seniors should never refrigerate. It's surprising, it's common, and it's probably in your fridge right now. Canned tuna, more specifically, leftover tuna stored in the open metal can. Now let's be clear, tuna itself is not the enemy. It's a great source of omega-3 fatty acids, lean protein, B vitamins. And for seniors, those nutrients are vital. But once that can is opened and stored in the fridge, things change, and fast. Exposure to air, cold, and the metal interior of the can triggers a process called lipid oxidation. This produces lipid peroxides, harmful byproducts that cause cell damage, tissue inflammation, oxidative stress, A 2021 study published in the Journal of Food Science revealed that improperly stored fish oils increased oxidative stress markers by over 43%. Levels associated with cognitive decline, arthritis, cardiovascular issues, muscle loss. Let's look at Richard, 66. He often opened a can of tuna, ate half, and left the rest in the fridge, still in the can. By the weekend, he felt bloated, foggy, and achy. His daughter assumed it was just old age. But a dietitian noticed the issue right away. When Richard switched to glass storage and consumed the leftovers within 24 hours, his symptoms faded. His digestion improved, and his energy returned like it hadn't in years. Here's why this matters even more for seniors. As we age, our ability to detoxify and eliminate oxidized fats slows down. So even a little bit of lipid peroxide exposure can build up quickly, leading to long-term damage to your brain, skin, nerves, and circulation. How to store it safely. Transfer leftover tuna immediately to a sealed glass or ceramic container. Eat it within 24 hours, or freeze it in small batches for longer storage. And no, do not trust labels to warn you about this. Most don't. The packaging is focused on convenience, not senior health. So what do these three foods have in common? They're all highly marketed as healthy or convenient. They're all commonly found in senior households, and they all contain ingredients or compounds that become harmful with cold storage and age-related metabolism. Recap. Hash 3. Deli meats. Raise stroke and blood pressure risk due to nitrates, sodium, and preservatives. Hash 2. Bottled salad dressings, full of inflammation. Triggers like soybean oil, sugars, and additives. Hash 1. Refrigerated canned tuna in the can. Oxidizes rapidly, producing toxins that harm memory, joints, and blood vessels. These aren't obvious culprits. That's what makes them dangerous. But here's the empowering part. Once you know, you can change. This isn't about fear, it's about freedom. We believe that aging doesn't mean slowing down, it means getting smarter about how we fuel our bodies. So now we want to hear from you. What's one item in your fridge you're going to double-check today? Tell us in the comments. We read and reply to every single one, and your story might help another viewer. If you found this video helpful, hit that like button. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. And share this video with someone you care about, because small changes today protect your health tomorrow. This is just the beginning. We've got more research-backed videos coming your way to help you stay strong, sharp, and independent, no matter your age. Until then, stay informed, stay energized, and don't let your fridge become your silent enemy. We'll see you in the next one.